God, look at them.
Alrighty. Hi everybody. Oh, my stream slots. There we go. I'm 7th Base. We've got Fuse, Ace Bats, and Diller. If y'all want to say hi real quick.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to be showing Jet Set Radio Future Co-op, a mod created by Fuse that we've been testing for a couple months now. That literally has us in the same game instance that we can do things. So everybody, can we jump real quick? So yeah, we're all jumping in real time. Our characters are all synced in position. We can collide with each other, so people can run into me and all this stuff. Like, there are actual interactions between the characters in the game. It's really, really cool. And we've been working on this speedrun for a couple of months now, trying to get this routed out with 4 people to try and complete everything possible in the game before you have to beat the final boss in a very, very quick amount of time. A normal run of this would take just under 3 hours for like a world record tier runner, and we're going to finish it in about an hour and 45 minutes here, assuming not too many things go horribly wrong. So that's all of that. We can talk about tech and cool things and other stuff at the end of this. So we're going to go ahead and pop over and get this started in just a little bit. Joining us today for commentary will be Twinkachu and Eclapricious, who will be bringing you basically all of the commentary that actually is useful as opposed to us shouting at each other.
Yeah, it's gonna get chaotic.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead, send us back to the title screen. Hopefully that'll be seen on stream in just a minute. Boy, there's a lot of delay.
Yeah.
I've got a multi-stream up, so
Okay.
I'm watching with less delay.
Yeah, that's a lot of delay on that stream.
Alright.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and pop one out so everybody else pop into general. Yep.
That would be helpful if you can do that.
Yeah.
Alright.
Cool. All right, race people, let's co-op people, let's go ahead and pop one out.
Alright, so our runners are abandoning us.
All right, well, let's get started then.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ace did a really good job of kind of explaining the basics of what the multi-mod lets us do. So for the uninitiated, Jet Set Radio Future is basically a 3D platforming game with some kind of collectathon elements. So the players are going to be going around to the different areas in the game and spraying all the graffiti and collecting all of the graffiti souls. Normally, this category, 100% no post-game, does everything there is to do in the game before you beat the final boss. And it takes roughly 3 to 3.5 hours for a single player. With the co-op mod and 4 players, it cuts it down to under 2 hours. So we save a lot of time because we can split up and go to different parts of the map at the same time.
Yeah. And so we're going to see all of the fun and chaos that creates. This category, this version of the game is also relatively new, so it's not even like as optimized as the regular vanilla single-player game is. It's real exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing optimizations within the last 24 hours. Yeah, within the last hour, in fact, actually. We're still finding ways to do this faster, and there's a lot of chaos, and there is a lot of kind of unpredictability about this, but it's still a really fast way of playing this game.
Yeah. So some of the like finer details we'll talk about as they come up, but the basics of this are that all 4 players have a shared can library. Like, they have 30 cans that they have to split between themselves. So that requires a lot of coordination because cans are what you use for movement tech and also spraying graffiti, which is how you complete levels. So that causes a lot of the like strategy. Graffiti progress and collectible unlocks are also shared. You have to do all of that for hundo completion, which is what we're doing, but it's shared so we can work together on it. Yeah. One thing that isn't synced is level completion, so you'll see people going to like get a completion check in a lot of the levels, but all of the like progress within the actual levels is synced.
Also, another thing that isn't shared is the player's health, fortunately or unfortunately. There are kind of there are instances where perhaps it would be better to have it shared. I don't know.
Yeah. Give us all of your well wishes, because if someone dies, they're just kind of out of the race. Yeah. All right. Are there any more like basics of the co-op mod we should go over, or should I give the runners a thumbs up?
I think we're good to go. I think everything else can be explained as we see it, really.
Yeah. So get ready. Here, let me. All right. So the runners will be counting down and getting started shortly. In just a minute, and then you can witness this chaos.
And chaos it will be.
All right. Everyone is just making sure they're on the right title screen, looks like.
Yeah, so from a technical standpoint, how this mod works is completely beyond me. Hopefully,
Ace and Fuse are going to explain later. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be able to inform the masses as to the specifics of how this works. But it's effectively online multiplayer for a game that didn't have online multiplayer, which is really amazing.
These players are also playing on original Xbox. Like, it works on an emulator, but all of these players are on hardware, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, like, I don't know, playing this game for myself when I was a kid, I thought, wow, it would be cool if this was co-op. But at that time, like, things like multiplayer co-op were just kind of being put into games as it was. So it was not something that really crossed my mind, but to be here like almost 20 years later and be like, wow, this is here. It's amazing.
Yeah. So this is the first level of the speedrun. This is just the garage, which is like the tutorial. As you can see other players' models. Everyone appears as Yo-Yo, who's this character. So you can see all the other Yo-Yos like running around completing all the challenges. On Fuse's screen right there, you just saw someone run into him and knock him over. Which is a fun layer of the chaos. It isn't, completely flawless because the mod is a little janky at times, but it's what we've been able to do is mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I mean, for games of this era, and particularly for this hardware, there really isn't that much of a modding scene. Not many games really get the level of care and love that JSRF does, and it's really all to do with our amazing modder team. Ace and Fuse are part of that team, and we have a few other modders as well who are working really, really hard to make this game amazing in so many different ways. We have the multi-mod, we have all sorts of cool custom XPs that help us practice the speedrun, and really they are responsible for making this game incredible.
JSRF kind of in its like golden era as a speedrun. It is. We have so much cool stuff going on.
Right. And this is actually one of them, is the cutscene skipping. Saves a lot of time.
So with this mod, we've got a lot of little quality of life things implemented because it isn't like an official leaderboard category yet. It's on our category extensions board. So we've got like cutscene skipping. There are some other things we're just gonna skip for quality of life reasons. Okay, now there's cool stuff happening, so we've got to talk about that.
Yeah, so first level of the game, Dogonzaka Hill.
He's got truck jump.
That's so cool. That's not even like a
you don't even need
that's
to
cool.
do that.
So we're going to be collecting all the collectibles, which requires one of the players to go and grab the mystery tape and unlock the street challenges.
That's
Normally
nice, I believe.
that's Fuse in the top right doing that. Normally in single player, you would pick up the tape at the end of the level and unlock the challenges at the end of the level. But since we have 4 people and everything is shared in terms of progress, one person goes to the back end of the level, picks up that tape, and everyone can work together to unlock these. So I think Acebats is going to be doing the unlock challenges right now. Yep, there it is. Unlocking the first couple of Graffiti Souls.
Acebats was waiting right by this rail that you do all of the collectible unlocks on, so that he could do that as soon as they were unlocked. Generally, the way these first couple areas are going to go is that Fuse and Ace are working together to tackle the main graffiti. Ace is going forwards around this level, Fuse is going backwards, and then Ace Bats and Diller are working together to unlock and pick up the graffiti souls.
Yeah, and collecting the graffiti souls and unlocking the graffiti souls requires you to do a fair few different pieces of movement and tricks. There's grind combos, there's air trick combos, there are total points combos and things like that. In Dogenzaka Hill, it's very straightforward. You can do it all on that very first rail section in the high street. But as the levels go on, things get more complicated, and there'll be a lot of divergence. Players will be heading off to different areas, and there's going to be a lot to pay attention to.
Yeah.
It's pretty chaotic, it's pretty crazy, but it's all really, really cool.
The other thing that we're setting up now that you'll kind of see continuing is that since 7th Ace and Fuse are pushing ahead with the graffiti, they are kind of going to be just speeding through the levels as fast as possible, while Ace Bats and Diller are going to be lagging behind a little bit more to pick up all the collectibles. In Chapter 3, there's kind of a bottleneck area because of cans that we'll see in a little while, but spacing the players out helps with that.
Yeah, so cans is a really big deal since every character that we're playing in this run up until the end of the game can only carry 30 cans, and that 30 can pool is shared across 4 players. And you can see the Dilla doing a boost dash. That consumes 10 cans, but it's fast, and we want to go fast. Spraying graffiti consumes cans as well. So everyone has to be very careful and cautious of what they're doing with their cans at any given time, because if someone boosts at the wrong time or starts spraying graffiti at the wrong time, it can really mess someone else up.
Yeah, if you're like spraying a tag while you're on a rail where you can't effectively slow down and you run out of cans suddenly, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah, and then there's the tags fights later in the game where you have to spray down enemies, which can be very precise, even in a single player environment. So yeah, when you've got other people also pulling from your cans, it can be very difficult, and it does create like bottleneck sections of the game where you'll basically see the players queuing up to do certain parts of the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of worked into the route at this point. Like, this part of the game right now, the beat race, consumes a lot of cans. You do kind of pick up a lot of the cans you're spending, but still, when there are 4 people trying to boost all at once, you physically don't have the cans for that. And so spacing it out lets Ace and Fuse collect cans from an upcoming cop fight while Bats and Diller are finishing up.
Yeah, there's a whole dimension of the routing that goes into this version of the category that you just don't see in the single-player version, which is another really interesting thing about multi. It's not just the fact that everyone's playing together, it's the fact that you have to route around that specifically.
Yeah. So here we see Fuses in this cop fight. All of the cops drop a ton of cans, so if one person is in a cop fight, they have kind of an endless supply for the rest of the players. So Ace Bats is now free to boost as much as he wants because he has just an endless supply coming in from Fuse.
Yeah, one of the other things about the cop fights as well is that since our characters appear in each other's worlds, you get the ghostly yo-yos appearing, as you can see kind of on Dilla's screen there. If one ghost gets grabbed, the cops will actually teleport on top of you, the host player, so to speak. So there's a lot of tiny little intricacies like that you have to be careful about.
Yeah, so the person who enters the cop fight first is generally okay, but the people after have kind of a difficult time. So here we see some of the players entering Shibuya Terminal. I think Ace does the back half of the route, Fuse does the front half. Ace Bats or Diller is going to go for the tape, and then one of them does the unlocks, and the other does this one specific unlock in this area that's really hard. Yeah, so Diller's going for the tape.
Each area has effectively a special unlock, which is unique to the area, and in Shibuya Terminal, it's the 13 platforms challenge, which requires you to touch the top of the 13 bus platforms in the area without touching the ground. And it is notoriously difficult.
Yeah, so it's a hard enough challenge as is, but also the game isn't fantastic at registering when you have hit the platforms.
Yeah. Dilla's doing a little double tap there just to make absolutely sure, because you don't want to get to the very end of it and find out the game didn't register your touch on the first platform.
Meanwhile, Ace and Fuse have completed all of the graffiti in, well, that was like 30 seconds.
Yep. And we get to see the Poison Jam guys appear now, which adds another layer of chaos to this.
Yeah. The game is going to be a little laggy in these first couple areas. It lags a bit when everyone is in the same area because it is trying to load the regular game and then 4 additional characters. But once we start spreading out later in the game, it'll get better.
Yeah, and you kind of saw Ace Bats getting bonked there. By one of the ghostly yo-yos, and the Poison Jam also interact with that. It's very strange, but the way these Poison Jam cutscenes are played out is they are kind of effectively replacing you, the character, with Poison Jam in these cutscenes. Yeah. So whatever they do, also kind of interacts with the multi-mod in the same way that you playing as Yo-Yo would at the time.
Yeah, a lot of the movement sequences like that are scripted movement, where it just replaces you with the character. So you can see other players' Poison Jams moving.
Yeah, so at this point of the game, it's there are 12 players around or something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and the game doesn't like it because the game was not intended to be played this way, but we did it anyway because it's really cool.
Yeah, Fuse added a feature where you can display your frame rate, which we might see some of the players doing just for check, just as a check. But yeah, did Diller get 13 platforms? I can't tell. Oh, the other component of this is that it's a hundo run, so we're going to be revisiting all of these areas later. So, it's faster to unlock the souls here while we have the extra people who are in need of things to do. But if you miss something, it's not a huge deal because someone can just grab it later.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's sped up by this multi-version of NPG, is the fact that we don't have to spend so much time revisiting the levels later because we can do extra stuff early. So that cuts a massive amount of time out of the later parts of the run. And Dilla's trying the 13 platforms again. So
I would assume that means he missed it, yeah. Diller's going to give this one more try if he misses this probably, and then he'll just move on. But...
And then we got, let's see, Ace is in the Shibuya Cop fight. We've got Fuse just doing the combo challenge. So everyone's kind of catching up to each other, other than Dilla.
Which is intentional.
Seventh Ace is going to be the first into the next chapter of the game, but you'll see that what could have been a bottleneck kind of doesn't become a problem in this chapter in particular because of the way that Chapter 2 is laid out. So you'll see that momentarily.
Ooh, can you pull Seventh Ace into the call? I think Diller's game crashed. Yeah.
We love tech problems.
Tech issues.
So yeah, if one person crashes or dies, it really does kind of mess up the run because everyone has a specific job.
Yeah, so we see the other players are just waiting.
Yeah, so we might end up getting a reset here. Fortunately, this happened 10 minutes into the run and not an hour into the run.
Yeah. So it's possible to pull Seventh Ace in here. They'll have more information about the plan going forward.
So just kind of following on from my point about what would happen next if the crash hadn't happened. Moving into chapter 2, things got
Hey,
physics.
so JSRF is a well-programmed game, and Diller crashed on a rail. It's not even due to the multi.
Ooh.
So we would like to go ahead and try again. That's essentially what I'm asking for. We're 13 minutes in, so it shouldn't be too bad. We're going to catch right back up to where we were. And we could theoretically, actually, we could hit new game and skip everything we just did. We're going to work with that. So that's what's going to happen as far as Trinket 2 and Eckle purchase are concerned. We're going to go ahead and work through in the missions. So we should be in good shape, maybe, or we're just going to do it all from the start.
All
We'll do
right.
it from the start. So,
Cool.
okay.
So we can give slightly more information this time
Sorry
around.
about that. Sorry about that. JSRF just kind of does that. I'll tell you, we've done this practice probably 10, 20 times. Never once had it happen. So, always got to do it for the first time. All right.
Now that we've got an audience, the game needs to break.
Yep.
It happened.
All right. We're just going to go ahead and get started pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we can
Alright.
kind of just continue on talking about what we were talking about, I suppose.
Yeah, so the players are just going to do all that one more time. Just going to zoom right through the tutorial, all the graffiti and unlocks in Dogenzaka Hill, and then Shibuya Terminal one more time.
Yeah, so it's
Surf has
literally just
performance
chapter 1
anxiety.
that needs to that needs to be repeated. And then in chapter 2, the players actually get to split up and go to different areas. So you'll actually see people going to different parts of the map completely and doing different sets of graffiti and different soul unlocks. So it gets
This
really
is very
interesting
much-
from chapter 2.
Yeah, this is very much a run that gets more interesting as it goes. Like chapter 1, everyone's kind of doing the same place. Chapter 2, we start to split up. Chapter 4, things get real wacky. That's literally
Chapter
what
4
it says
is-
in our commentary notes.
Yeah, I'm great at note taking. Chapter 4 is
things
very
get real
exciting.
wacky. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get there.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, we'll just get to see chapter 1 done again.
Yeah. We can explain in a little more detail what the players are doing, because now you guys know the basics of what
Yeah.
happens there.
Yeah, honestly, like the fact that this works at all is incredible.
Yeah. This mod is incredible. Our modders have the biggest of brains.
Oh man, Dilla's Xbox is having a rough time today.
Yeah. Almost all of the JSRF running is done on modded Xboxes, which is what you see happening there. I don't think you can do this without a modded Xbox because you have to turn on some internet capabilities that aren't on by default.
Yeah, and like we're using custom XBEs as well. There's a lot of modding has gone into getting us to where we are.
Yeah.
As we were kind of saying earlier, as a speed game, JSRF is in debt to our modders because they provided us with a quick save tool for practicing. They provided us with an in-game timer for more consistent timing that's fair for everybody. And beyond that, they've added so much extra stuff that we can have fun with, like multi and a randomizer mod and all sorts of external programs that help us play bingo. JSRF, yeah, as you said, it is thriving.
Thriving. Yeah.
And it's all thanks to our modders.
I think co-op is really the coolest thing happening right now, though. When Ace sent me like a video of the first demo that you couldn't even like see other players. It was just shared souls. Like even that, I lost my mind over.
Yeah, and
Alright.
it adds so many different options to the game.
All right, we seem to be back in garage. So here we see giant yo-yo pile up. Yo-yos
Just like
assemble.
all of my runs back in garage.
Yeah.
Yep, so same stuff all over again.
Yeah.
Garage
Lots
is
of this-
unfortunately not very interesting in multi.
Yeah, lots of this isn't synced. Like there are just some little movement challenges, like you have to jump 3 times. That's not synced. There is a spray graffiti that will happen automatically as long as the first person to get there has sprayed something. And there's also like a collect 30 cans or 10 cans that happens immediately because of the shared can bank.
So it kind of it does establish how there is kind of a lead player as well in multi-runs. Whoever's kind of the furthest along in the game in terms of story progress sets a lot of flags that help the other players out. And as you mentioned, like completing certain areas graffiti.
You can see Ace saying hi to Diller there.
But yeah, like completing an area's graffiti means that the other person just has to come into the area, get the completed flag, and then leave.
Yeah. And so generally, Ace and Fuse are going to be our lead players here. They have the most experience with the game and also wrote the mod. And also have more experience with specifically co-op. I know the two of them have done 2-player co-op.
But then we do have Bats and Dilla, who they are always like engaging with all the extra fun stuff that we do. They like bingo, they like randomizer, and they like this as well. And it's good to have them here.
Oh yeah, no shade to Bats and Diller. They're both great too.
But yeah, I mean, everyone has their different interests when it comes to JSRF. Some people love grinding out any % runs, and then some people just really enjoy doing all the extra fun stuff. And
some people can't stand
fortunate.
any percent.
Yeah. We were fortunate to get Ace, Bats, and Dilla, who really do enjoy doing all this extra fun stuff, to do this run.
All right, back in Dogen. So 7th Ace rushing down this initial hill to just speed through the graffiti as fast as possible. Fuse going backwards around the level.
Yeah, so Dogen's Arcade Hill it's one big loop, and there is a point of no return when you're going forwards. Fortunately, the tape is really close to the end of the level, so you can just go backwards and grab it. And as soon as Fuse gets that, Ace Bats will start up the challenge and start unlocking the souls again.
We've routed out this one sequence of tricks you can do that basically unlock all of the collectibles in the area. Normally, you're supposed to do these 5 different like movement challenges, but conveniently, we figured out a way to do them all at the same time.
Yeah,
let's see if that gets the triple. There we go. You see, that looks real funky because Bats unlocked 3 souls on the same frame.
That's tricks, grind, and points?
Oh, that might have only been 2. I don't think he got tricks quite in there, but yeah. So we are using lots of cool speed tech in here as well.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about how boost dashing, which uses 10 cans, is a really fast way of moving. JSRF is a very movement-intense game, and there's kind of like a hierarchy of movement. Boost dashing is very, very fast. If you're not boost dashing, you kind of want to be on a rail. And if you're not on either, you want to try and preserve your speed with a shuffle.
Yeah.
Which you could see Dilla doing briefly there. Unfortunately, losing a bit of speed doing it. But yeah, preservation of momentum is huge in moving around JSRF. And there is that element of having to limit your cans to help out other players, so you can't boost dash as much. But fortunately, there are other ways to remain fast. Yeah.
Yeah, so far we've only done co-op with people who speedrun the game because the setup is a little complicated, and we're the ones developing the mod, but I can imagine people who don't speedrun this game having a lot of fun with it too.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested in doing a casual playthrough of this co-op, just chilling, you know?
Chilling.
The game is still a very good casual game, even when you learn to speedrun it.
Yeah. It's chill. We have a good time. So here we see Fuse going into the beat race first. Ace and Ace Bats following quickly behind us. Diller isn't lagging behind us much this time around.
Yeah, so for the most part, the progress kind of matters for the 2 separate groups. Like, you kind of want a lead group and then a secondary group. And for the most part, them being closer or further apart doesn't affect the game too much, except for certain, what did we call them?
Bottlenecks.
Yeah. So at this point in the game, everyone's really close together, but that isn't too detrimental. There are a lot
It's
of cans.
early. There aren't a ton of things you can do at this point in the game. You gotta go a little later.
Yeah, and in terms of like managing your cans, fortunately, most of the Dogenzaka Hill area has plenty of cans. So we have 3 people in the beat race right now, and well, probably 4 people in the beat race right now, and the cans aren't really a problem because there are constantly these blue cans which are worth 5. So
Yeah,
everyone can keep on moving.
The management here is pretty self-sufficient.
There are areas later in the game where it becomes a problem, even single player, like Hikage Street, for example. There's a lot of graffiti to spray there, and there aren't really that many cans. So you'll see our players coming up with some kind of co-op exclusive strats for managing cans in those levels.
Yeah. We'll see later, like, sometimes it works out and sometimes it just doesn't, depending on timing. It's really hard to plan for. Sometimes you have everyone in need of cans all at the same time, and sometimes everything works itself out. People need cans right as people are picking them up.
There are a lot of variables that go into a run like this.
It's hard to predict.
Yeah, like having an established route is one thing, but JSRF is very execution dependent. Depending on how well you're playing and whether you get a certain trick first time or not, it can have like implications on how everybody else's experience is in co-op. Yeah. It's not necessarily like detrimental all the time. Sometimes going too fast could be detrimental. So it's very hard to really know exactly how a run's gonna go until it happens. Even with an established route.
Yeah, this is also, like, again, pretty early in its lifespan, so we don't really know how to predict how a run is gonna go at this point.
Which makes it all the more fun to watch and find out. So we're back in
you guys are
Shibuya
finding
Terminal.
out how this is going at the same time as we are.
Yeah, so we have 7th Ace and Fuse back in Shibuya Terminal, finishing off the graffiti route super fast.
Diller back in Shibuya as well. He's rushing for the tape, which allows him to unlock the collectible unlock sequences. And then he will be doing 13 platforms again. Diller, I'm so sorry. Oh,
Yeah,
we are out
Diller
of
on
cans.
13 platforms duty today.
Yeah. So Ace and Fuse both doing graffiti. Generally, Ace Bats, while he is unlocking things, it's his job to, like, can feed, is what we've been calling it. So just collect cans so that there are enough to do all the things.
Yeah, and you can see Shibuya Terminal as an area is very different to Dogenzaka Hill. It's very flat and kind of an open area as opposed to Dogenzaka Hill being a loop, which makes it really interesting and different in co-op, because you can literally go anywhere in the level at any point. You're not beholden to being stuck on a loop like in Dogenzaka Hill, which gives us a lot of different routing options, and it allows us to get all these souls early, even though in a single-player NPG run, it would be very different. The route would be very different.
Yeah. Yeah. But having more players just makes everything way less linear in a way that's really interesting to watch play out.
Yeah, and how it plays out is very dependent on the level as well, because you have the linear levels and then you have the more open levels, and the game kind of interchanges between the two. We've had Dogenzaka, we've had Shibuya, then the next level is Chuo, which is mostly quite linear. Rokokudai Heights is quite linear as well. But then 99th Street is another really wide open level where you can go in a bunch of different directions.
And
so there's a lot of
see,
variation.
Yeah, we'll see people split out again in 99th Street, but mostly following the speedrun route in the next 2 areas. I think once we get into Chapter 2, they split up too. So Ace and Fuse rush Chuo Street, and Diller and Ace Bats rush RDH, Rokakudai Heights.
Looks like Poison Jam are actually behaving themselves today.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
We've had instances where the Poison Jams that are spawned in by these cutscenes just keep bonking people and nobody gets anywhere for like a minute, which is hilarious, but not fast.
We were doing some practice yesterday, and I think Ace, 7th Ace, just got bonked like 4 times in a row.
It's just the unpredictable nature of JSRF co-op.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of a hiccup, but we're pretty much back to where we were now, as everybody's finishing off Shibuya Terminal with the combo challenge and then into the cop fight.
Yeah. And so then we will be seeing some new areas in just a second. As soon as Ace and Fuse are... Oh, so there we saw Fuse getting grabbed on some teleporting cops. Normally the cops stay in these little clusters and they don't start moving until you get close enough to them to like trigger them. But because of co-op shenanigans, they don't do that and will just spawn right on top of you.
Yep, and these cop fights, even in single player, are unpredictable at best. So just a little bit more chaos. Oh, Dilla with an unintentional bus jump, I guess. It's not quite combo bus jump, but it's almost there. I respect it. Alright, so now we get to see 7th Ace heading off to Chuo Street. Fuse is just finishing off this Shibuya Cops fight and will be heading off there as well. Ace Bats should be heading off to Rokokudai Heights next. So this is the first time in the game that we get to see some divergence in the route.
Yeah. We're also going to see Ace Bats going for a speedrun skip in right away, I believe. I think the first person who gets into RDH does rip skip. So this area, Rokokudai Heights, is kind of divided into 2 sections. There's like a lower area and there's an upper area. Normally there's a gate in between the 2 of them, but we have this out of bounds like skip that lets you just skip that gate and all of the prerequisites to get it unlocked.
Ace Bats is going for what we call rip skip, and
nice.
The hilarity of this is that he did it blindfolded earlier today and couldn't do it when he was using his eyes.
Yeah, so in this area, the person who enters first just rushes ahead and does rip skip, and the other person stays behind and finishes all of the stuff on the bottom. Ace and Fuse are doing this tank fight in Chuo Street because the way this game deals with teenagers causing problems is tanks.
There we go, Ace Bats got rip skip.
Yeah. Fuse is running out of the tank fight trigger to pick up the tape and spray some graffiti first. You can't skip this fight. It's one of the only ones in the game that you need to finish to get your level completion, but you can dodge the trigger to pick up some more stuff and finish the area in fewer laps.
So we now see Dilla doing the first optional character unlock, which is Rith.
Oh yeah, that's another 100% category completion requirement. Is I think there are like maybe 4 or 5 characters that we're going to see unlocked. They're such a small part of the routing that I forgot to mention them earlier, but this is one of those.
Yeah, so these character unlocks are usually just a sequence of movement or a race that you have to complete to unlock them. And yeah, they don't really factor into the multi
There's
version.
One character unlock that causes significant routing change, and we will explain that when we get there.
Yeah, but for the most part, things are pretty much the same. I just felt obligated to point it out because Rith is a very good character.
Yes.
So now she's unlocked, and that gives us our first optional character, 4 to go. Well, technically there's 3 more optional characters, but there are 4 more characters that we'll unlock, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, this category is 100% no post-game, and you have to do some of the post-game to get all of the characters, so we only get the ones that are available before the post-game.
We see Ace Bats here doing very precise piece of movement to avoid this cop fight. Most of the cop fights in this game are avoidable.
Yeah.
Just not the ones in Chuo Street, oddly enough.
Yeah. And that one in particular is important because it's the biggest cop fight in the game. Most of them, like if you hit the trigger, you're fine. It's like a 20-second time loss. survivable. That one's like a 3-minute time loss.
Yeah,
it's
massive.
huge.
Here we see 7th Ace doing some unlocks in Chuo Street with the soul that Fuse went ahead and picked up before he did the tank fight. That one in particular, you can only unlock in this weird, like, back alley at the end of the graffiti route, and so having the tape there saves you a lot of time. That's Chuo Graffiti complete. Ace, Bats, and Diller are going to have to run back to Chuo to get the completion, but unlike a lot of other areas, they're also going to have to do the tank fight. Most of the other areas don't make you do their cop fights if the graffiti is already done. Chuo is the exception.
Yeah, it's just a very strange level in that regard. So we're going to see both Ace, Bats, and Dilla now working on the soul unlocks in Rokokuda Heights, as Fuse and 7th Ace are going to be heading off to the third area in Chapter 2, which is 99th Street.
They're going to dip into RDH quickly to get their completion first, though. Because I believe all of the graffiti is done and they're just getting souls.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, they just have to poke their heads into this area and then immediately leave and head to the next area.
So they might even pass each other in garage. Yeah. Ace and Ace Bats are going to hit each other. There we go. So
yeah, so now we get to see 99th Street.
Ooh, 99th is cool in this category.
I mean, 99th is cool in every category. It's my favorite level in the game. But it gets really, really exciting in co-op because it's a huge area with kind of 3 main sections to it.
Don't know if you caught that. You'll see it a lot, but because the graffiti was already done, 7th Ace ran into the level, got the graffiti completion, and then could just leave.
Yeah.
There's a little dance that your character does that signifies that it's done.
So we get to see now Fuse is doing what we call quick light, where a specific jump... Oh, that's not planned. A specific jump gets you on top of a wall, and then you can jump off of that wall into a different part of the level if you hit it. Fortunately, he didn't hit the cop fight trigger, so he's not going to have to repeat it. He can just go straight to light side. And then we're going to see 7th Ace doing the opposite, which is quick dark, and it's going to take them to dark side. So they're completing 2 different halves of the level at the same time.
Yeah, so 99th is kind of divided into 3 areas. There's this light side, which Fuse is on. There's this dark side, which Ace is on. And then there are some sprays in the middle, which I think they're going to meet up and do together.
We actually get to see the dark side cop fight. We normally skip this, but we can't really do that in co-op. It's actually faster just not to bother skipping it.
The way these cop fights work is that you can skip one of them, but only if you've done the other one. And so if you aren't even going into the areas that both of them are in, there's no point.
But yeah, it shouldn't take too terribly long, and then we'll get to see them working on the graffiti.
There we go. Finished at just about the same time. Here we see Ace Bats and Diller doing the tank fight we saw earlier. They just need to do this for completion. And then they will head on out to 99th. Oh, the other cool thing we see in 99th is this flag battle. So the game has you interact with like rival gangs, one of whom is Rapid 99, who live here, and you have to play effectively capture the flag with them. So the game will spawn these flags around the map, but because of the like model syncing in co-op, other people can pick up flags for you. So we're gonna see Fuse and Ace attempt to cheat. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of don't play fair in single player, but we've taken the cheating to a whole new level in multi.
It's not fair in general. There are 3 of them and only one of you. How are you supposed to get all of the flags?
Fair, yeah. I think we're just kind of evening things up a little bit, actually.
I mean, there are 3 of them, but they all travel together in a pack, so...
Yeah, they didn't really think that one through.
The AI in this, the flag battle is terrible.
Yeah, if you bonk them, they might just break and not know where they're going, which is fun.
Yeah, sometimes they just, like, launch themselves into the water and die. It's... truly baffling that this AI was put into this game.
So both Fuse and Seventh Ace completed their respective halves of 99th Street, met in the middle. Graffiti is now done, so we're going to get to see that flag battle.
Ace
Really
Bats is
well
just
synced
now
up.
entering. There's a little cutscene that plays before the graffiti completion, which is what unlocks the flag battle. So I don't know if Ace Bats is going to be joining them or not. It'll depend how quickly this cutscene finishes itself.
But Ace Bats, I think, might just start working on the unlock sequence.
Yeah. So we saw him unlocking the air combo soul on his way down, and he's now unlocking grind and points on his way up.
Yep, pretty quick and easy.
The thing about the flag battle is that because the players are spaced out and because of the timing, like it's not even the fastest way to do it a lot of the time, but it's so cool that we couldn't resist.
Yeah, so Ace is waiting to start, waiting for Fuse to get into a specific position, I think. Or
Waiting
I think
for
they might
Fuse
have to
to start the
enter.
fight.
Yeah, they have to enter the race at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a countdown at this. You can see both players on Ace's screen. So Ace is rushing down to this highway. They're letting Rapid 99 get the first flag. They go in the same order every time. So Fuse is going to the second, so he will be standing right on it when it spawns, which will collect it for Ace. Ace is heading to the third flag, which is right by the places where the fourth and fifth ones spawn, and that's the whole mini game.
Yeah, so that is effectively the race won already.
Alright. So there we go. It's not visually super interesting, but Fuse heads over to the center where the last flag is. He completely doesn't have to get flags 3 and 4 because Ace picked them up for him. And there's the game done.
Yeah, and now we're going to see Ace Bats and Dilla doing the exact same thing. So we kind of maintaining our two separate groups as our lead group heads into Chapter 3 and is going to head out to the sewage facility as Ace Bats and
Welcome
Dilla finish
to
off.
bottleneck number 1.
Yes, this is it. So the second group kind of caught up in 99th Street, and they won't be too terribly far behind. But we are going to get some bottlenecking in Chapter 3 because there's not a lot of content.
Yeah. Chapter 3 is fondly remembered by people who played this game in childhood as the sewers that you spent 3 hours trying to finish. Fortunately,
yeah, the point of the game
the
at which
speedrun
you
just
stop.
skips it. Yeah,
I wish
there's
I'd known. I wish I'd known about Sewer Skip when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't even hate sewers that much. So there's an easy enough skip for the sewers. You can just dodge the hitbox that spawns all of the things you need to do there. Seventh Ace is trying for a harder version of the sewer skip called Cucumber, which we will explain in a little bit because Ace Bats is going to get Cucumber. Like he has
we've routed
modified
it in.
his game for a specific hitbox.
This was one of the last minute adaptations that we came up with. Ace Bats said, I'm going to do Cucumber. And we were like, okay.
Yeah, so because you need to unlock one of the characters, this guy, Garum, he's not on anyone's screen right now, but the way you unlock him is you do this little tutorial before sewers that teaches you how half-pipe mechanics work, and then you unlock him. But if you do sewer skip, you don't unlock him unless you do Cucumber, which is the harder version of sewer skip. It's an incredibly precise trick, but so basically either someone has to hit Cucumber in the run or someone has to do sewers, which is like 10 minutes of pain.
Yeah, it's unenjoyable and we don't want to do it. So we're going to be looking for sewer skip. And you can see actually Dilla doing absolutely nothing right now. And this is what we meant by bottleneck.
Yeah. Ace Bats and Diller are waiting by a big pile of cans to pick up so that they have the cans to do the skip as well once they go in.
So we saw both Fuse and Ace do that boost jump over the trigger. So they completely skip the area. They head to the next area where we're going to soon have a Tagger's Tag battle with Poison Jam, which is going to require a lot of cans.
This is the second half of this bottleneck. So for this Tagger's Tag, this fight with Poison Jam, who we saw earlier, you need to spray down 3 of them, and each of them takes 30 cans to kill, which means the cans here are a pain. Yeah, so Ace Bats is just going to ignore the Garum tutorial completely and keep trying for Cucumber.
Yeah.
Diller is feeding cans.
It's a difficult one.
It is. People say it's pixel perfect. I don't know if that's true, but it is incredibly precise.
It's the most precise trick in the game.
The good thing is that... Oh, that was close. Sewer takes a really long time, so if he hits it once in like 10 minutes, it's faster.
Yeah, so we saw Fuse start at the Poison Jam fight first, and then Ace came into it a little bit later after, I think, unlocking a few souls in Bottom Point before the fight.
So there are some cans that you can pick up in this area. The cans are kind of like self-sufficient, but we also see Diller hovering in Rakakudai Heights, reloading the level at this character swap point, which refreshes the cans. So he's just running around and supplying cans to the players that are in the fight right now.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the dominant strategies for certain parts of the game. We're going to see that a bit more going forward as well, because there are just parts of the game that take a lot of cans.
Yeah, and when you've got 4 people, like, why not just have someone do that?
Yeah, so it's just using our resources effectively.
Yeah. There are points in this run where having 4 players almost feels like too much, which is why we often have a person feeding cans.
So Fuse is now heading into Chapter 4. Ace will be there in just a moment after finishing off his last Poison Jam. And again, our players actually get to split up in this chapter and go to different areas. We're starting off with Hikage Street for Group 1, which is, again, an area of the game that is somewhat unpopular.
Fuse is doing something cool as soon as he enters the next area. He's feeding cans right now, but get ready for it.
Oh, yes. I highlighted this in huge text on the notes, actually. Yeah. How could we forget? So this is, we're going to get to see a kind of a Fuse exclusive strat, really.
So normally this game is played in Japanese for speedruns because of faster dialogue, but the co-op mod is in English because we skip all of the dialogue, so it has no impact. And it gives you slightly easier timings for a lot of really precise tricks. But also in English you can do this skip that we have not yet figured out in Japanese. That is a triple cop fight skip in Hikage Street. Fuse is the only person who has taken the time to like get consistent at it because it isn't useful in leaderboard categories, but we get to see that. So first, 7th Ace is speeding in to pick up the tape, which unlocks the challenges, because the way this cop fight skip works effectively is that you unlock 2 souls like on a set frame, and it interrupts the cop dialogue, which prevents them from spawning.
Yeah, so we've actually seen kind of a version of this exploit. Well, actually, we wouldn't have because we didn't do it in 99.3, but there's a version of this exploit that is used earlier in the game as well. If the cops don't finish their dialogue, if it's interrupted somehow, the cop fights just don't spawn. And so that's what Fuse is going to try and do here.
All eyes on Fuse. So he is jumping down and landing in this trigger zone, which unlocks air, and then immediately after the special. And the cops should just stop talking. There we go. So Fuse no longer has to do any of the cop fights in this area. 7th Ace is going to do one of them while they hit all the graffiti in this side of the level, because skipping the cop fights saves time, but not that much time. But Fuse is free to do this side of the area with no cops.
Yeah, and this is another large area that's split into 3 sections, kind of like 99th Street. So we'll see Ace is kind of on the left side, Fuse is on the right side at the moment.
Ace Bats is still going for Cucumber. I was talking to him beforehand, and he said if everyone is well into or finished with Chapter 4, he's going to give up and just do sewers.
Yeah. As you said, though, it's like you have 8 minutes or something to do Cucumber without really losing time, because sewers is a really long section.
Yeah.
And there's no completion for, like, the 100% no post game. There's no completion in sewers the first time you go there.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you need to
weird.
do other than unlock Garam, which is why Acebats is going for Cucumber specifically.
Yeah, so normally if you do sewer skip, you don't hit Garam's hitbox at all, and so you don't unlock him, but you can configure your cache specifically. There's like a version of this game that has a slightly different hitbox, where if you cucumber, you clip through this pipe, and you will warp into the main sewers area, and then you can hit the trigger from the back. It's kind of a complicated setup to visualize, but basically Acebats has his files configured with a larger hitbox that won't allow him to sewer skip, but one that will allow him to hit the Garam trigger from the back end if he can get into sewers.
Yeah, so in its simplest terms, it allows us to do everything we want to do, which is to unlock Garam and not complete sewers the intended way. There's no graffiti in sewers. You just have to spray switches to unlock the next area, but when we skip the sewers, the switches never spawn, the gate is already open, and we can just go to the next area. We come back to sewers later to do the second route, which does have graffiti, and that's when we collect the souls.
Diller is running ahead into Kibo, which is the second area in Chapter 4, home to the hardest trick in the regular any percent speedrun. Besides Cucumber, it's a series of movement rather than a big clip.
This is interesting because he's the only one in Kibo right now.
Yeah.
Normally, I say normally as if anything is normal for this category, but sometimes the heli skip movement is done by 2 players at the same time. So one person does one half and one person does the other, since there are pieces of graffiti you need to do. But in fact, Diller is going to go for a different strat here.
Diller's going for the stall launch. This is a cool strat.
That was very clean. Well done, Diller.
So cool. Okay. So the way heli skip usually works, there are some helicopters that spawn, which require you to do a full lap of the level, and you can't spray graffiti while the helicopters are active. But if you can hit all of the graffiti in the trigger area and get out of it before the helicopters spawn, they don't spawn at all, and you can just do the level in one lap. Because of co-op shenanigans, we can have one person do all of the graffiti in the trigger zone and one person just zoom right through it and hit all of the graffiti later in the level. So we see Diller doing that right now. Normally Acebats would be joining him shortly to get the early graffiti, but Acebats is still in Cucumber Hell.
This is a good adaptation, though, from Diller, and using that stall launch, which we saw, basically just kind of bumping up against a wall and hitting the end of a wire to build up a bunch of speed, and then getting fast enough to clip through the wall and half the level.
Yeah, if that wire has... There's some sort of weird collision there, where basically you can set... Oh, Acebats has cucumbered. Let's go.
Yay!
Good job, Acebats.
Remember to unlock Garam. Remember to unlock Garam.
Oh, he still has the challenge to do.
He still has to do the challenge. It's been a while. I forgot. So
I'm slightly concerned about how the cans are going to line up here, because we're going to have Acebats in Poison Jam fight while we have someone doing the first half of heli skip, theoretically. So there we go. He hit the trigger from the backside and now is free to just move forwards without having to do sewers.
Yeah, so normally you'd have to climb all the way up to the top of sewers and spray a bunch of switches, which takes a really long time.
By doing this, says still faster, by the way.
Yeah, not wrong. That's still probably... I mean, it's on the edge, but like it's still not any slower than doing sewers the intended way, because it's a very high vertical level that you have to climb. There's risk of falling down, which loses a bunch of time. It's just unpleasant, and no one really enjoys it.
Diller appears to be getting started on the Kibo unlocks while he is here. And we're gonna see either Fuse or Ace, or maybe both, hitting the early graffiti here.
Yeah, so Kibagawa Hill is another loop that you can only go around one way, and the tape that you need to do all the challenges and the unlocks is right at the end of the level. Meaning, in single player, it takes a long time to get round, then you kind of have to do a bunch of extra movement and kind of do another half lap to unlock all the stuff again and collect all the souls. Fortunately, we have multiple players, and Dilla is already at the end, so everyone can work collaboratively to unlock the souls, to spray the graffiti. Kibo is a lot more pleasant.
Yeah, there's an unlock sequence you can do here at the end right by the tape, which we see Dilla attempting, but it is pretty precise. You have to be super wary of your speed so that you maintain enough speed to get enough points to keep building your combo. But if you slow down too much, it'll cancel your combo. But if you go too fast, you won't accumulate enough points, basically.
No, the graffiti completion, did that interrupt Dilla's unlock? That's unfortunate. That's a really hard piece of movement that he was doing very well, and then the graffiti completion interrupted it.
Yeah, that's a shame. But, so the Kibo graffiti is now done. Diller unlocked some of the souls. Is he gonna hit Boogie here? So here we see another character. This is just, you have to do a little climb to unlock her. Not too difficult.
Yeah, you would have seen Dilla specifically avoiding this before the graffiti was completed, because of shenanigans with loading of events in the game. If you unlock Boogie, is he? Yeah, okay.
He was
is
waiting to have
Boogie.
a second left.
So if you unlock Boogie before completing the graffiti or the cop fight, the heli fight, whether you skip it or you actually do it, timings mess up and things don't work the way they should.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really nuanced stuff in this game that I don't understand. I just know it is done. I don't know why it is done or how it is done.
Yeah. Fuse and Ace and Diller, once he leaves the area, are heading into the last area of Chapter 4, which is going to be the Skyscraper District, which is another super unlinear, like, massively open area. So they're going to split up again.
Yeah, unfortunately, unlike Kibagawa Hill, the Skyscraper District gives you the unlock tape right at the very beginning, so you can easily work towards unlocking your souls as you're going through the level, and with 3 people in the area, it should be pretty quick and easy.
Yeah. So one of the players is going to rush immediately for the tape and start doing some unlocks around the middle area. One of the players is going to zoom out to the left, and one is going to zoom out to the right, kind of in the same way we saw in 99th Street. But first they're going to do this cop fight. His spots might get to skip the cop fight completely, which would be cool.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure quite how this one works out, but that was a very clean cop fight from Ace.
Ace is very good at this game.
Shoutouts to Ace Bats for finding that setup, I guess.
Yeah. So Fuse has rushed out to the left side of the Skyscraper District, or we'll call it the panel side, because the ramps that you run out to are panels versus the other side, which is just ramps. Although I think he did like a death warp to get there anyways.
I'd just call them left side and right side.
That works too. Or onion side and other side. There's a trick you can do called onion to get to the other side.
Yeah, we have great names for tricks in this game, by the way.
We've got cucumber, we've got onion. We've got
pickle,
lemon.
We've got
pickle.
lemon. Shoutouts to carrot, by the way.
Is there a strat called carrot?
Technically, no. But I want there to be.
Willing that one into existence. Ooh, we're also...
Listen, I need to leave my mark on this game somehow.
Isn't lemon your strat?
Well, it's kind of a collaboration between me and Nastronus and Ace Bats.
Gotcha. Anyways, Fuse is cleaning up graffiti here in the middle. Diller is about to enter. We've just got people cleaning up graffiti. Skyscraper District is designed differently to the other areas in that it is buildings and a lot of death planes. So we're going to see a lot of death warp abuse here to just navigate around the level, because without that, navigation's kind of a pain.
Yeah, I don't know how to go around this level the intended way. Learning the death warps makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Fortunately, as we mentioned right at the beginning, one of the things that isn't shared is player health, and this is a point in the game where that is a very good thing, because the death warps deal damage. And there's a very real risk of dying even single player, so when there are multiple people in the area who are all death warping to navigate, yeah, it's probably a good thing that health isn't shared. But maybe we can
Be
put
an
that
easy
in.
way to
Maybe
die.
it would be fun.
I think Fuse is intending to make a version with some optional things like that, so you can turn on and off health and can sync. Maybe like turn on like area progression sync, so you don't have to go in to areas to get completion markers. I don't know.
It would certainly add or subtract certain levels of challenge and routing, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. I like that. Just from a versatility standpoint, I know a few people have been interested in
Pick your own
trying
difficulty.
out runs,
Yeah.
but they're not a fan of CanSync, for example. That victory dance from Dilla was hilarious. So,
Yeah.
with Skyscraper District technically now complete, we're gonna do the. Well, Dilla's gonna have trouble with the Immortals fight. That's fine.
The easiest
Fine, it's
fight. This is the point. We haven't been talking much about the story or the plot of this game because it's a little all over the place and we have more interesting things going on.
Yeah.
But at this point, you are fighting with a rival gang called the Immortals, and there is this weird little fight here where you do like 6 cans of damage and then they leave and you have to go finish the fight in another area.
Yeah,
But we've
so
also got cool
this is
things
really
coming up
interesting,
there.
actually, because there's a lot going on that I'll try and explain in a swift way. So Fuse has entered Highway Zero. Normally, as soon as you enter this area, the fight with the Immortals begins, but you see he walks up here and triggers it. So the difference here is that to make the multi-mod work, they had to do some messing around with certain files, because normally Yo-Yo is meant to be in that cage, and if he's in that cage, he starts the fight automatically.
Yeah,
But
so
to get
the-
multi-working, we had to stop that from happening, and it basically allows us to do Highway Zero early.
I am probably going to get bullied by someone who knows more about this later, but I believe what happens is that normally the yo-yo in the cage hits the fight trigger for you, and we had to disable that because in earlier versions of co-op, models like that were triggering fights for other people in other areas. Like it caused problems with someone would soft lock you by starting a fight that you were outside of the bounds of, basically. And so doing that means that Yo-Yo doesn't automatically trigger the fight for you anymore, and you have to manually go trigger it yourself, which doesn't happen in vanilla. You enter the area, Yo-Yo triggers the fight, the Immortals fight starts immediately.
And then when you complete the Immortals fight, I think you are immediately then walked to the next part of the game. But
Yeah, the
because
Yo-Yo
they
in the
fixed this
cage
bug-
triggers it again.
Yeah, because they fixed this bug, we are actually able to stick around and do more of Highway Zero at this point in the game, instead of having to come back to it a lot later in the game.
Yeah. So we'll see. Ace currently is doing an unlock, a very hard one at that.
Oh yeah,
Dylan
this
has
is
finished the
possibly
fight.
the hardest
Ace
solo
Bats has
unlock in the
caught
game.
up. Yeah. And
Yeah, so
we're
all that
heading-
time that Acebat spent doing Cucumber is not really time lost, because he's right back caught up to everybody because he didn't have to do graffiti or anything else. He just
Yeah,
runs through the
everyone else
areas.
could pick up for what he was kind of expected to do, which is fine.
Yeah, so really no harm, no foul in spending 10 minutes trying to do Cucumber, and it's better than doing sewers.
Yeah. And so next up is Death Ball, which is
Ah,
a fun one. This is one of the quality of life things that we've implemented in this mod because it's pain. So the game, for some reason, decided to give you this mini game that's called Death Ball. You run laps around this stadium, which we'll see Ace entering momentarily. basically you race against some rival gangs, but you have to do it 3 times, and it is exactly the same fight every time. And so we skip the first 2 and just cut to the last one for efficiency, because it is terrible.
Yeah, nobody wants to do the race 3 times. There are some strats that we do in leaderboard categories where we actually just kill the participants of the race instead of racing them, but it's actually faster.
That's faster.
It's actually faster to race in multi because we get 1 billion cans.
We've also got some hitbox shenanigans we can do. I think Ace and Fuse will be doing this. So Ace and Diller is also joining. Oh, everyone is here now. Cool. So one player, in this case, it's Ace Bats. One person, in this case, 7th Ace, is going to race ahead, grab the ball, and just do a normal lap. Everyone else is going to just stay back out of Ace's way, and as soon as Ace crosses the start line, the race will end for them, rather than the race ending when you cross the point at which you picked up the ball, which is a little farther up. So we see Ace actually doing the level, and then Ace Bats and Diller and Fuse just kind of hanging out.
So this is basically a 4x100 relay where the first person does the entire race.
Yeah. It also, we don't know why it does this, but sometimes the other player picks up the ball and it just finishes the fight for everyone else, just immediately right away. I don't know why. It happens. It's weird.
We are learning a lot about this game through multi.
Yeah. Ace Bats and Fuse, or Diller and Fuse rather, are on the same screen, so you can see Fuse jumping on his screen and Bats watching him jump.
Yeah, so Death Ball is usually either death or ball, and in this case it is ball.
So the fight has triggered for Fuse. Ace, Bats, and Diller might be on their own kind of sequence here.
Yeah, it looks like Diller got left in the dust. That's unfortunate.
Oh no. You might have to restart the lap.
But everybody else is working on the second Terror Drone fight, which is very straightforward. You just spray the big robot for different places, and then you can move on to the next part of the game, which is Noise Tank Cleanup.
Which is also very cool in co-op.
Yeah, so kind of in the vanilla game, you have to go to a bunch of different areas and run into a bunch of noise tanks to defeat them before you can progress. In co-op, the way it works is a little bit strange because the progress isn't shared. So if you kill a noise tank, it isn't shared for everybody else. But if you're in the same area as someone, the ghost of your character killing a noise tank for them does count. So you're going to see people pairing up. At the moment, we have 3 people in the same area because Diller is unfortunately stuck in Death Ball. But you're going to see people probably pairing up for most of this and going to the same area so that they can effectively progress at double the speed that they normally would be able to.
Yeah, so there are a ton of noise tanks in Dogen. You can do a full lap, or you can have everyone do part of a lap and hit the noise tanks in that part. And you get as many noise tanks as you would doing a full lap.
Yeah, so again, we see kind of a backwards Dogen route and a forwards Dogen route. And Ace Bats is here as well.
Ace Bats, I assume, was rushing forward and did some of the super early ones, whereas Ace rushed further down to the later part of the early ones.
Yeah, so Ace Bats did a little bit and waited to get the progression as well. And now everybody's heading out to the next part of the noise tank cleanup, which is Shibuya Terminal.
Depending how quickly Diller finishes this Terror Drone, he might go meet them in one of the later areas. So he might go meet them in RDH and then go do Dogen and Shibuya on his own. Or no, they're just getting started, so Diller's on his own here. Which is unfortunate for him.
Again, though, because it's 4-player co-op, he doesn't have to do nearly the same amount of catching up that you would have to do if this was a race, for example.
Yeah. If Diller gets behind here, it just means he does less stuff in the post-game cleanup segment of the game.
Yeah, so also a point, during the noise tanks cleanup, you'll see people collecting the souls that we unlocked earlier, just because we're in the area. so we might as well.
Yeah. Noise tank cleanup is just you have to run around the map a lot, and so often it is a convenient time to pick up the things that you have unlocked. You have Ace and Ace Bats trying very hard not to bonk each other in Garage. Yeah, so Diller has met them in RDH for noise tanks.
Yeah, so just kind of checking my notes here. Noise tank cleanup is, yeah, not the most interesting part of the game, but fortunately it's a lot quicker in co-op.
Yeah. We're also gonna see after this. Oh, Diller isn't even that far behind because someone else has to do Jazz unlock. So there's other stuff that has to happen in this chapter.
Yeah, so this is the kind of back end of NPG is a lot more chill than the first half because it is kind of just cleaning up, finishing off graffiti roots and picking up graffiti souls. But before we get to that point, we are going to have one kind of intense part of the run, which is going to be the Noise Tank's Taggers Tag, which we'll see after the Noise Tank cleanup, which is going to be similar to the Poison Jam fight. Kind of a bit of a bottleneck for cans.
Ace and Fuse have routed this so that the two of them can do it at the same time and feed each other cans. I do not know how they've done it.
Yeah, I think the routing of this is one of my favorite parts of it. It's one of my favorite parts of speedrunning in general. Just, it's a completely different environment to play the same game in. So to see a run that I'm relatively familiar with done in a completely different way with completely new strats faster is really, really cool.
Yeah. So we see Fuse and Ace are going to run forward to Sky Dino, which is an area we haven't seen yet for this Noise Tank fight, and Ace Bats is going to be unlocking my favorite character, Jazz.
Also my favorite character.
Ekla and I are the same person.
Fan favorite.
Jazz is a fan favorite. So Diller is finishing up on the noise tanks, and since Ace Bats is unlocking Jazz for him, I think that's usually Diller's job, he will be able to just rush right past that and do the fight when he is done here.
Yeah, so now 7th Ace and Fuse heading into Sky Dinosaurian Square. Really cool name. I have mixed opinions on the level itself.
I'm a big fan.
It's cool. I just wish it wasn't deadly.
Like that. Yeah, it's hard.
So we see the Taggers Tag starting here. It's going to be kind of a staggered start for Fuse and Ace. And they've done it so that one person can collect the cans while the other person is spraying.
Yeah. There are cans everywhere in this level, so what they're going to do is one person is going to spray down one of the enemies, the next is going while the other player is paused so that the fight isn't progressing, but their cans are still updating because they're synced. So someone else can pick up cans while you're paused, and then you can unpause, resume the fight, you have full cans.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite parts of the run, just because of how clever it is in terms of routing.
Looks like Ace messed up their fight just a little bit, but they seem to be recovering quickly, so good job, Ace.
Yeah, I mean, that's about as fast as a regular Noise Tank fight goes.
They messed up the first one and recovered well. Diller should be almost done with the Noise Tanks.
Yeah, and it looks like Ace Bats is just cleaning up a couple of soul unlocks that he didn't get previously. So this is the special soul in 99th Street, which requires you to grind around all of the gates, the little fences around that central area.
Ace Bats is unlocking some souls while he waits for Diller, but now we're going to see 7th Ace do something really hard. So at this point in the run, we have this no post-game category strategy called the Clutch Cycle. At this point in the run, Clutch, this character, shows up, steals all of your souls, and you have to chase him around a bunch of areas. In any percent, you just go to the first location that he shows up and you meet him right away. In NPG, you run around and do a bunch of the graffiti that has since showed up. But you have to do it fast enough so that you can meet him on time in the right area. So Ace is going to get this one tag in Shibuya, all of Dogen, and all, if not most, of Rokakadai Heights, all in time to meet Clutch. So this is this requires really good movement and also a lot of cans, which is going to be great with Ace Bats and Diller in the Noise Tank fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, so Clutch Cycle is one of the least changed things, really, from the classic single-player NPG route. It's a little different, there's a little less that you have to do, but it's nonetheless still quite the challenge. So Ace, respect to them for taking that on.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Fuse has met Clutch in the first place he shows up, which is Kibogaka Hill, and he is now going to just clean up the graffiti and souls here. We started unlocking souls earlier. This is the point in the game where we have a second round of graffiti in every area, so we have to revisit every area. This is also, however, the point in the game where the progress mark, like the sync on level completion, stops mattering, because you no longer have to complete this graffiti to progress on in the game. You just have to do some cop fights.
Yeah,
so,
this is optional. So in any percent, we don't do any of this graffiti.
Yeah, so this is all of the 100%ing the game stuff, which means once Fuse is finished with this graffiti, no one else has to come to this area for the rest of the run. It's just done. Same with Dogen. Ace is going to be the last person in Dogen, basically.
Yeah, so after Clutch Cycle, which is relatively tight in terms of its timing, the run gets kind of chill from here on out.
Yeah, it's just a lot of cleanup.
It's a lot of cleanup of collecting the souls that you hadn't gotten yet, and finishing off the graffiti. So it's a pretty good time.
The map kind of divides itself up into 3 sections. There are the first couple areas you see in the game, which are all the daylight sections, or the Shibuya sections. And then there is sewers and the areas off of sewers. And then there are the nighttime areas, which are 99th Street and everything out past it. Skyscraper District, Highway 0, Skydino. And we're basically going to see one player take on each of those kind of sections of the game. So Fuse and also Ace, I think, are going to do a lot of the sewers cleanup. Either Diller or Ace Bats will be cleaning up the daytime levels. I think it's whoever finishes first with Clutch. And then the other player will be running out to Dark Side. And then from there, players can run and help whoever is not finished yet.
Yeah. So how long are we into the run now?
I have no idea.
About an hour and a bit, I would say. So we're getting towards the end of the game, certainly. This part of the game goes a lot quicker because there's so much work has been done already. This is honestly the longer part of NPG for a single player run, because you have to go to so many areas and so much NPG. But it's actually the shorter part of the multi run. So we're kind of in the back end of the run now. Because we've done so much progress already. The majority of what needs to be done is the graffiti, and we have 4 players to do that. And then it's just collecting the souls as you're going, which mostly have already been unlocked because we had multiple people in the areas. We were able to unlock them earlier.
Yeah. In any percent, this part of the game is mostly just like cop fights and boss battles. And so we'll see people doing those intermittently as they go to the areas in which you have fights to do, but that is not the main focus at this point.
Yeah, so we're actually going to see, I think Diller is going to be going into the 45 residential zone. Do we do that immediately or not?
I think players do it differently. Diller probably is. So this is the other part of the chapter that Diller is in currently, the chapter with Clutch. Is this kind of a cop fight. You go into this area and you have to spray a bunch of these bombs. So Diller is doing this because the next chapter has fewer cop fights, or there are specifically a couple of fights he wants to avoid when he's cleaning up graffiti, and so progressing to the next chapter helps him out with that, which is why he's prioritizing this.
Yeah, so, Fortified Residential Zone is an interesting area, because it is effectively one big cop fight the first time, and you can't do anything else. So all this bonus post-game graffiti that everybody else is doing can't be done in FRZ, and you have to complete the area and progress to the next chapter before you can do it. It's a little weird. So it's Dilla in FRZ right now, which is a platforming challenge. Basically, you've got to go and spray all these switches to deactivate the bombs because the Golden Rhinos want to blow everything up.
This is the point at which the game tries to get harder, so it gives you a timer for this, but the timer is half an hour. A speedrun does it in a minute, I would say, and even a casual run takes 10 minutes max.
Yeah. It's an interesting level. I like what they tried to do with it. It's just, the degree of urgency could have been stepped up a little bit.
This game is well coded. FRC is one of my favorite graffiti routes, although it is definitely more interesting once we see someone going into the post-game section.
Yeah, for certain. We see maybe about half of FRZ the first time we go through, and there are a lot of little extra areas where there's graffiti hidden, which casually could take a really long time. Fortunately, we have good routes.
Fortunately, we know what we're doing. AceBat's also doing the FOZ bomb cleanup.
Yes, this is the point actually, because this isn't shared, because these don't count as anything that can be shared. I don't know the specifics, but everyone has to do this individually.
Seventh Ace is doing a strat called Updog. I am not kidding.
Yep, we have AceBats to thank for that one as well.
So Seventh Ace is just about done with this graffiti. They haven't abandoned ship yet, so I assume they are on pace to meet Clutch in time.
Yeah, this is the point at which you pretty much need to head off to Clutch and finish off the Rococo.
Yeah, that's right on pace, actually. That's a good Clutch cycle. If
so you
get
saw the
that
dialogue
message.
there.
Yeah.
Clutch is now at Kibagawa Hill, which is just around the corner from Rococo Dai Heights, so the route works perfectly.
Yeah. The other places Clutch goes are, I believe he goes to Chuo Street and the Skyscraper District. So he runs all around the map. Those areas are as far apart as possible. So meeting Clutch in the right area is critical for this strat, because otherwise you have to chase him around for a year.
Yeah, I remember watching a tutorial for this game when I was a kid, and they recommended that you just stand in Chuo Street and wait.
Yeah,
that's a point,
definitely
actually,
what I did
because
when I casualed this.
the way that we actually do it in the run normally is an exploit, technically. They just forgot to seal away the graffiti stop, so you could reload the area at the graffiti stop in Kibagawa Hill and just skip the cop fight they put there and get straight to Clutch.
Yeah, the cop fight is hard.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that as a kid, so I was like, how do I do this? How do I catch it?
Yeah. So Seventh Ace, having completed a very nice Clutch cycle, is now doing this FRZ bomb thing. Fuse just finished up the graffiti and presumably the souls in Kibo. He might have one or two more things to go. But once he is done with that, he will also be heading to FRZ. Diller, I believe, is done and is heading back to the sewers for cleanup.
So I think there are a couple of small little things that change for Dilla specifically, because he is doing this in Chapter 8, while the cleanup that we were seeing up until this point was Chapter 7, I believe. So I think there are a couple of different cop fights that spawn between the two chapters, but it's kind of a nuanced point. AceBats gets the DLC yo-yo dialogue. So normally you're not supposed to be able to get to yo-yo before disabling the timers, but AceBats found a way, and you get to talk to Yo-Yo, and he says some stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that they actually put that in the game, even though they blocked off the area.
This game is good sometimes. We see Diller cleaning up in Bottom Point, which is the area where we fought Poison Jam at the start. I believe Ace and Fuse went ahead and locked all of the souls on their first time around, so mostly Diller is just picking things up and doing graffiti.
Yeah, Bottom Point is the area we fought Poison Jam in, and we didn't really get to see much of it, but it's another loop. So
Yeah.
Diller's just going to go around in one big circle, spray all the graffiti.
This is
There is
one of
also
the
a character
easier
unlock.
graffitis, but it's not so bad. So I don't know how their like level breakdown plans have changed at all. I don't think Diller usually does sewers, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, the way that the routing for this part of the game works is pretty much whichever player is more comfortable goes to the area that they're comfortable in.
Yeah.
There could perhaps be optimization in terms of who goes where at what time, in terms of the cans that are being used and such, but players just go to where they're comfortable. Everyone has their own preferences.
Yeah, this part is way more flexible. Runners can kind of just choose to do what they would like to do from the like list of requirements.
What do we got here? Ace Bet's in Chuo Street. We got Ace is now finishing off FRZ for the first time. Fuse in Kibogaoka Hill. So yeah, everyone is pretty much just spread out across the map in all sorts of different places right now. And again, as we said previously, it's like this saves so much time because one player would have to go to all of these areas. And
Yeah.
we get to see the cube race now for Dylan. So this is second to last character unlock.
The last one is going to be Soda in Highway Zero, which we see Ace Bat's going ahead and doing Claws, which is one of the like boss battle type things at this point in the game. There's a strat you can do in any percent that's pretty difficult, called the zero cycle, which is basically you spray the guy down to 0 health before he has a chance to move at all. He just kind of rockets around this area. And so normally co-op lets you use other people's can resources to just do that super easily. It requires really precise movement in any percent, but because of the shared cans, you can boost a ton. But I think Ace Bet's missed it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of route divergence happening here. I mean, he's doing it as Gum as well. Did they switch to Clutch at all in this run?
I believe they do that for Train, Zero Beat, and Goji. So normally at this point in any percent, you've switched to Clutch, who can hold 35 cans, but at this point in NPG, you stay as Gum because Clutch has significantly worse cornering, which means he is less ideal for moving around and doing hard tricks to spray all the graffiti.
If you're a real legend, you play as Rith for this section because she sprays the graffiti faster. Shout outs to Nastronus. So yeah, I mean, this part of the run there's not really much more to talk about because it is everyone going around and spraying graffiti and collecting souls. It's very much the same thing in just a bunch of different areas. But we do get to see the last two character unlocks. So we've got Cube now, and then we'll see Soda in Highway Zero, and that'll be all the characters unlocked. Currently the soul count is at 67, according to Ace Bat's pause menu there. We need to get to 125 by the end of the game, so we've still got a little time left in terms of soul collection.
Yeah. But that number is going to go up pretty quickly, because at this point, gathering souls is a significant portion of people's focus, rather than trying to progress through the story.
Yeah. And as I've said multiple times previously, a lot of areas already have the souls unlocked, and we just need to go and grab them. So let's see. Where's Ace going now?
I
Sewers?
assume Ace is going to sewers.
Yeah,
Usually,
Ace is getting all the challenging levels.
yeah. Ace has the most experience with NPG as a category, but just JSRF in general, so they usually get stuck with all the harder graffiti routes that no one else wants to do. Like sewers. I mentioned earlier that sewers is the level of pain. Sewers 2, with the graffiti and soul unlocks, is even worse.
Yeah, sewers, as we said, we skipped it previously because there's no progression to be done there at the time when we go there for the first time, because we can skip it. But once we get to this point of the game, we do see the second set of graffiti show up, and we do still need to collect the souls. Ace has actually just gone to FRZ instead.
That works too. FRZ is also one of the longer routes. I wouldn't call it like difficult, but if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you will get lost pretty quickly.
Yeah, so like the early game graffiti, there's like 16 tags in Dogenzaga Hill. And there's like 47 in FRZ. So it escalates.
Yeah, it's a pretty long route. Oh, the other thing about sewers that I didn't even think about is that until like yesterday in this route, we were having someone just do sewers instead of going for cucumber. And when you have a player doing sewers, they can unlock a lot of the souls on their way up just while they're there. Ace Bats hasn't done any of that in sewers, so Ace will be stuck doing all of the graffiti, picking up all the souls, but also they have to unlock all of the souls.
Yeah, fortunately, one of the saving graces of, oh my goodness, Ace Bat's numing. That's the...
Ace Bats has a world record in the IL for this area and needs everybody to know that. Or, actually, I don't think he has a world record anymore, but Ace Bats is very good at this area.
He has had the world record like 3 times in the last 2 weeks. He's pretty good.
Intermittent world record holder.
But yeah, fortunately, one of the saving graces of sewers is that unlocking the souls is relatively straightforward. You have to climb to the top, but you're climbing to the top to do the graffiti anyway. It's not going to make you go up and then down and then up and then down, fortunately.
Yeah. Although, if you have to unlock the souls and pick up the souls in the same climb, you do have to go all the way up and then a little bit back down, because the point souls, you can only unlock all the way at the top of the area.
Yeah.
Did we ever explain how the soul unlocks work?
We kind of briefly touched upon it. We mentioned their names.
Yeah. For the sake of clarity, every area has 3 default souls, except for Sky Dino, which has 4, and then 5 unlockable souls. So you do a series of movement, and the soul will appear for you to collect. Each area has a grind combo, so you have to do a certain number of tricks on the same rail. An air combo, so a certain number of tricks in the same jump, effectively. A tricks combo, which is a certain number of tricks in a row, not necessarily on the same rail. A points combo, which has to be done on a specific rail, which gives you extra points. And then a special, which is exclusive to the level. In the case of sewers, the special is just an extra long points challenge. But some of them are like 13 platforms, which we saw Diller doing earlier.
The challenge with Sewer's special soul is actually getting the soul, not unlocking it.
Yeah, we'll see that in a bit. It's a weird one.
Yeah, not a fan.
Not a fan.
I think loving and appreciating this game means that you can appreciate when it does things poorly as well.
Yeah, we will point this out when we get to it, but basically there is a room that you just have to wall ride up for like 3 minutes straight. And it's cool to learn that you can chain wall rides together that way, but then you have to do it for so long that it loses all of its novelty.
Especially see now, Ace Bats is doing the Hikage graffiti, and that's a problem because Diller is currently doing the claws fight, so both of them are kind of fighting for cans.
Yeah. Hikage is the the running out of cans area. You need so many. It's not that bad in NPG, I guess. I'm thinking of Bingo, where you have even more graffiti and no cans. But it's still a lot of sprays, which, yeah, doesn't work out great with Diller doing a boss fight. Let's see, what is Fuse up to? Is he going to do Shibuya? Is he just going to feed cans? There's this one rail right here that we call the charity
rail.
Because it is covered in cans. And so you will see people running to specifically that rail all of the time. It's got a full 30 on it.
Best rail in the game.
Best rail in the game. But we also see, I don't know if we've pointed out, some of the runners have custom modded graffiti. They've swapped out some of the files. So instead of the game's regular graffiti, which you'll see on Fuse's screen, everyone else has replaced the images. So you'll see Ace Bats has meme graffiti. I think Ace primarily has Twitch emote graffiti, and then Diller has anime graffiti.
Ace set their graffiti for the GDQ hotfixes last year, where we did Rando and Bingo.
That
and
was
hasn't changed
fully
since.
a year ago.
That was a whole year ago. So you still see the GDQ hotfix graffiti and the RNG logo, because the GDQ RNG show doesn't have a logo, so we got Phospho to make one.
Yeah. Ace Bats is known for setting up special inside joke graffiti, so a lot of his sprays are community inside jokes. He does special event graffiti a lot of the time.
Yeah, we've mentioned it a couple times on our commentary so far. We also play Bingo for this game. Bingo is great. And
Bingo. A lot
Ace
of the
Bats-
routing from Bingo translates well into this.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
relevant, I promise.
It's kind of a two-way street. Learning MPG helps you with Bingo, and playing a lot of Bingo helps you get better at MPG. And yeah, Ace Bats creates custom graffiti for each individual Bingo match that he plays that's relevant to his opponents, which is phenomenal, really.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we've got Fuse heading into Darkside for graffiti cleanup. So he is working on the 99th Street graffiti, which I think is the most tags in any area in the game. I think there are 64 here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still not as bad as Hikage, though, because there are more cans available in 99th Street, and it's just not as dense as Hikage is.
Yeah. Hikage is at least manageable in the first time around because there are the cop fights and you can use the cops to stock up on cans. You don't have that the second time around. There are no cop fights, so you just have to suffer.
Yeah, suffer is pretty much the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So we've got Seventh Ace is in FRZ, just finishing up the graffiti there.
They're in the last section of graffiti. There are 5 more tags down here in this lowermost area of the level.
So we're actually getting quite to the end now of the graffiti routes. I think Hikage is nearly done. 99th Street will be done before too terribly long.
I think with Hikage completion, that's all of Shibuya. The Shibuya area is done, maybe. I don't know if someone has done Shibuya Terminal itself.
Yeah, so we got Highway 0 is a quick and easy route, which I think Dilla will be doing, or has probably already done. I wasn't looking at his screen. He's also completed
done half of it.
The flamethrower boss fight as well, because he's in the area. And
So with that-
he will get to unlock the last character.
Yeah, Diller is done with his boss fights for the next little bit. There is one in Chuo Street and one in Highway 0, so every area will have to visit both of those areas at least once.
Yeah, so Highway 0 is a very dense area in that it has graffiti, it has souls, and it has a character unlock. And it's also the smallest area in the game.
It's tiny and the graffiti is super quick. Ooh, Ace is climbing sewers. I am so sorry.
Here we go. Someone had to do it.
Yeah. So, let's see. So Diller is in the soda race, which is why he is whizzing past all of this graffiti. He will do another lap to get it.
Which fortunately doesn't take too long.
Oh yeah, okay, Shibuya wasn't done yet, so Ace Bats is finishing that up. Yeah. So this is just the cleanup section of the run, effectively. I don't know how much Fuse has left to go. I think he still has the Dark Side sprays. Most of the souls are picked up. If we see someone check their menu at some point, we can track the soul counter. We actually, at one point, we made a version of not this mod, of the in-game time mod that displays the soul counter. We should have implemented that to this category.
Yeah, that would have been good.
We used it for
something we can add.
randomizer, so that I didn't have to count everyone's souls.
Yeah, well, this is always in development, and that's the really cool thing about the modding community in JSRF, is that everything is always in development, everything's always being improved upon.
Yeah.
We just keep going from strength to strength, finding new ways to play the game and improving the ways that we play the game already.
Alright, so Fuse has not yet done the dark side. Oh, so there we have Fuse running out of cans while trying to spray on a rail, which is like the worst possible time to run out of cans.
Also the worst possible rail to run out of cans on.
Ace was also on a rail, but they managed to pause in time while someone ran and picked up some cans.
Yeah, pausing strats. That's something you don't see in other categories.
Ace Bats flashed his menu, but I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, I imagine, given that we're getting close to the end of the graffiti routes, that we're probably close to the end of the souls as well.
Yeah.
I believe 100 for Dilla. Well, for everybody, but Dilla showed it 100, so 25 to go.
Which is significantly better than the like 65 we were at not that long ago.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone's done Skyscraper District yet. Unless
or Sky Dino.
Yeah, so it looks like those will be two of the later areas to do.
I don't know if 13 platforms ever got unlocked. Ace Bats might still have that to go.
That was so long ago.
We are trying our best. There is a lot to keep up with right here.
Yeah.
Can't believe we were going to do this with one commentator.
I think I would have passed out about halfway through the run.
Yep.
Yeah, so Skyscraper District is another really big graffiti route. It's just a really big, wide open area, and there are a lot of sprays to do in it. So it's going to take a fair amount of time. But then there's Sky Dino, which by contrast is another really quick and easy graffiti route, like similar to Highway Zero.
I wouldn't call it easy. It's quick.
It's quick.
If done well.
It's not easy. Never mind.
It's got a lot of capacity for going wrong.
Yeah, not a lot of stuff in this game is easy, to be fair. This can be quite a challenging game.
Yeah, that's because all of our runners are good at what they do. It doesn't look like a lot of what they're doing is difficult, but like all of this is pretty complicated, like speed tech and a lot of practice and familiarity with this movement, which is sometimes quite janky. The game is 19 or 20 years old. So it is not always like a smooth experience.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when someone is playing poorly, you notice, and when someone is playing well, you don't with this game. A lot of the nuances of movement are very hard to identify unless you have a familiarity with it yourself. Just tiny little things about how people move around, the turns that they do, which we call quick turns, just speed management. You're pretty much always moving in this game. You very rarely ever stop moving, and being able to preserve your momentum and speed throughout pretty much the entire run it's taxing, it's challenging.
Yeah. Which is one of the cool things about co-op, is that it lets you do a full hundo or a full no post game run in way less time. I know when I tried to learn NPG, I got so tired like halfway through the run. I was like, I can't play this game any longer. I'm going to cry. It requires a lot of stamina.
The average any percent run is about an hour 45 minutes, let's call that. And
maybe a little
even
longer.
That is like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And then you have NPG, which is more demanding in a lot of ways. There's a lot more difficult movement involved. And I
think the world record is
long.
3 hours long.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a really good way to be able to enjoy that category without the the time commitment.
Yeah. And without having to learn as much, like you really need to know all of the areas pretty well. In co-op, you can get away with being familiar with a couple of the areas, but less so with some other ones.
Yeah, everyone gets to share their knowledge and their expertise with this game.
Yeah, way more beginner friendly, I'd say.
Yeah, which Rando does as well.
Yeah.
Rando is a very similar kind of experience to this because you get to do effectively a 100% no post-game run, but it's
in an hour
slightly
and a half.
changed, and it is a lot quicker.
Yeah. So we've got a few. Let's see. Diller has started Sky Dino. I don't know if anyone grabbed the tape before. There's a way to kind of go out of bounds and avoid the fight the first time you're here, if you want to grab the tape early, but I don't know if anyone did that. They might have just left it for Diller.
Yeah, it's kind of halfway through the level. It's this is one of those areas, Sky Dino, where familiarity helps a lot, because if you
It
get
is
lost,
impossible to navigate.
yeah, if
Diller-
you can get lost, you can die because there's no floor. It's just oof.
Yeah, Diller is going for the special challenge, which is a difficult one. There is this platform that swings back and forth across the level, and to complete the special, basically you have to jump onto the platform. You're supposed to ride it to the other side of the level, but the game doesn't actually track that. You just have to land back on a rail. But you have to time it so that you land on the platform. It can be really tough. Oh no, that was so close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a difficult area of the game. It's an area that you rarely see as well in any percent. You're there for the noise tanks fight, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then in NPG, you have to do all of this really complicated movement that's really risky.
It's also
Special
got
souls are, they are difficult.
the layout of Sky Dino is also quite confusing. Like, you can ride the rails all the way around the level without too much issue, but to get to all of the sprays, you have to take all of the weird little side rails all around. It's really hard to navigate. We also see Ace Bats and Fuse tag teaming Skyscraper District. So one of them has gone off to the left, one has gone off to the right. The issue with the post-game Skyscraper graffiti is that it is spread out real far.
Yeah, I really like that they added the extra post-game graffiti, because you get to see parts of the level that you don't see in the first half of the game and in any percent. There's a lot of Skyscraper that we're going to see that we wouldn't have seen if we weren't playing this category, and we see that now with Ace Bats climbing up the observatory, for example.
Yeah. Skyscraper is a massive area, and there's a lot going on, and you don't really see any of it unless you do all of this post-game graffiti.
I think by just sheer size, I think Skyscraper is actually the biggest area in the game.
That sounds right. I would believe that.
And yeah, everything is more spread out. We have other big areas, but they're slightly more populated and slightly denser.
FRZ is also
kinda-
massive.
Yeah, there's a huge area, but there's always something going on. But then Skyscraper has a lot of pieces of just movement, really. Like this right now is just a very long grind challenge that Ace Bats is doing, which if you make a single mistake and you fall back down, you have to start again. Yeah, it's unpleasant. But
He might also be trying to... I don't know if he was going for the tricks unlock on his way up. That's generally one of the easiest places to unlock. I believe it's a 65 trick combo for this area. As you get later into the game, the challenges get harder.
Yeah, so Skyscraper, Sky Dino. Are we then done? I think we're done.
Yeah, we might be. Well, we have... There are a couple more
graffiti routes.
final boss challenges.
Yeah, and then we
but-
move into the boss gauntlet at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Which we broke up the boss gauntlet a little bit, because in any percent we do the Claw Guys fight in Chuo Street, we do the Flame Chicks fight in Highway 0, and then we go to the train, and then we go to the Zero Beat Tagger's Tag, and then we go to Goji. It's 5 boss fights in a row, effectively. But we've kind of broken it up a little bit because of the graffiti routes here, so you've seen people doing Claw Guys in Chuo and Flame Chick in Highway 0 at different times. throughout their navigation of the map. But pretty much after these graffiti routes finish up, we're going to be seeing the train fight, and then we're going to be seeing the last 2 fights of the game, Zero Beat and Goji, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, with the any percent run after you finish Chapter 4, you're kind of done with graffiti. Yeah, Diller is having a bad time. That looked like it should have registered. He didn't land on the platform. He managed to land on one of the, like, hanging bits under the platform, which sometimes works, but I don't think he landed on the right kind of rail afterwards. That challenge is super finicky. Literally the worst. Not enough time. Did not land on the platform. So the beauty of co-op is that if Diller continues to struggle with this and needs to go get health or something, someone else can come in and clean it up. Yeah, here we see 7th Ace entering the area to help Diller out.
Ace Bats is heading up. Is he collecting a soul here?
He's just grooving. Ace Bats, I have so many questions.
I think he's trying to collect the soul that's here, but not doing it in the fast way?
Yeah? I think Fuse missed Kevin. There's a jump in the later parts of Skyscraper that's called Kevin. It's my favorite name for a trick in this game, but I think Fuse missed it.
He might be able to get the backup, Kev.
Yeah. I'll point it out if we see Fuse going for it. It's not that impressive a trick, it's just funny that his name is Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Ace Bats is just doing this so weirdly.
Yeah, that was baffling. That's certainly a way that you can do that.
There is a significantly faster way to do this that does not involve timing crane jumps. You can literally just do a boost jump off of a ramp near there and you hit it every time.
There are like 3 faster ways to do that. I think Ace Bats is just giving us the full JSRF experience, showing everything off in the game.
I'm also required to bully Ace Bats just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
All right, so yeah, everyone is working together to clean up these last 2 areas now. Skyscraper should be almost done.
And Skydino Graffiti is very almost finished now.
Ooh, 2 more tags. Yep. I don't know which 2 they are.
They're kind of spread
Let's
out.
hope the runners do.
Oh,
there was one.
No, he got it. I thought Dylan missed that, but no, he got it.
Good job, Diller. And one more somewhere. It's possible it's a weird hidden one.
Yeah, if you're not super familiar with this route,
souls.
it can be devastating.
Might be 122 now.
Yeah, so very nearly done with souls. Just a couple more graffiti to spray in Skyscraper District. Just 1 more to spray in Skydino. And we'll be able to move on from this cleanup section of NPG, which, I mean, as we said, is usually the longest part of NPG, and this was less than half of this run.
So there are 2 more souls somewhere. Let's hope that they are in the areas that they are in. So otherwise they will have to search. 124. The last one is in Skydino. I can see the bright orange indicator on the map. So
Yeah,
they are
excellent.
good on souls once they pick that one up.
There it is.
And
That is
so
all characters and all souls.
and maybe all graffiti.
And I
7th
think,
Ace
yeah,
doing a cool
by the-
out of map.
By the looks of
Skydino
it,
is good for
Fuse
those.
and Ace Bats heading
Yeah.
out. Looks like Fuse is going to have to do the Flame Trick boss fight. Ace Bats is
Oh,
already
okay.
doing Train.
Train is
So we
the
are-
first part of this endgame boss.
Yeah, we're
run.
at the very end now.
Yeah. So they've coordinated some strats for these last couple fights, basically, so that everyone isn't doing the same thing all at once, because that puts a lot of stress on your cans. Ooh, Diller switching to a 35 can character. Good call. Ace has done the same. We have some jazz content.
It's
So
the
basically-
natural conclusion to come to.
Yes, of course. What we're going to see here is primarily one, maybe two people doing fights, and someone else hanging out nearby, picking up as many cans as possible while they wait for the other person to finish the fight so that they can go in. So 7th is going to start the train fight. Diller is waiting in this area of Skyscraper that has a ton of cans. There's this little pyramid. You see Fuse leaving Highway 0, having completed the Flames Chick battle. Ace-Bats is in Zero Beat, actually, which is the next fight. Zero Beat is a little less can intense, so he
Did we
should...
talk about why we switched to Jazz or Clutch?
That is a good call. I think we mentioned it, but... So
Basically,
Jazz...
they do better in these boss fights. They spray graffiti at a slower rate, but the way that graffiti affects bosses and like enemies is that it does it on a time basis. Like it counts every second. So actually spraying at a slower rate means you use less cans to spray the enemies down. So not only do Jazz and Clutch have more max cans, they use less cans spraying, which makes these boss fights way, way easier.
Yeah, really ideal for the end of the game where you aren't moving around so much. Yeah, so you'll see the players are coordinating, so as soon as one of them finishes a fight, someone else heads into the fight, so that they aren't all doing the same thing at the same time, partially for cans, partially because being in the same place all at the same time puts you at risk of bonking into each other or into the enemies that people are trying to fight, which is also bad, and it'll break their AI. All of the AI is very fragile. If you hit it the wrong way, it'll just break completely. These fights are manageable if you know what to expect, if you have a route, but an AI break will throw off your route completely.
So we see Ace-Bats is now in the final boss of the game. This is the Goji Akumu fight. And basically the end of the run will be when everybody completes this fight. And so Ace-Bats spent some time hanging around at the bottom there because the ninjas down there drop a bunch of cans. So he was able to feed cans to everybody else who's doing their boss fights at the moment. And now he's heading up to fight the big man, Rokaku Goji himself.
Yeah. We've also got... So 7th Ace is waiting right by this rail, the charity rail, as we talked about earlier, to just pick up cans as soon as someone's in need of them. While Diller, Ace-Bats, and Fuse are all spraying down bosses. Ace-Bats might do the strat where he gets Goji down to 1 or 2 hits and then goes to the bottom and picks up cans so that everyone else is good to do the same and they have like a constant supply of cans. These ninjas drop so many, so it's a really good source of cans for people who are in the other fights.
Yeah, it's collaboration, teamwork.
Dare I say, co-op. The point of the category.
So yeah, I think Ace-Bats is just going to continue on feeding cans for a little while longer while everybody else finishes up the boss fights. Diller's done with Zero Beat and will be heading into Akumu momentarily. 7th Ace is in the fight right now. And Fuse is... I think Fuse is on his way to Zero Beat now?
Should be, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's everyone but Fuse is on the last boss battle, and everyone is either actively working towards killing the last boss or is supplying cans so that others can do the same.
Oh yeah, that's a good point as well. The way that enemies attach onto you and how that interacts with the ghosts of other players in your world means you can kind of warp the ninjas up top.
Yeah, normally the ninjas don't ever leave like the bottommost layer of this fight. And then you have to climb up and the boss is at the top, but because of the weird interactions, sometimes you get ninjas at the top. It happens. Let's see. Ace-Bats stairs % legend.
Yep. Yeah, you heard that right. Stairs %.
Ace-Bats is our meme category runner, including a category where you hit every stair in the game. Alright, so...
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ace brought the ninja up. So, let's see. having a little trouble with Goji because of the ninjas, presumably. But Ace might just go ahead and finish this. Okay, they're waiting too. So sometimes what the players here do is they have one person get Goji down to one hit, and then that player goes to the bottom to supply cans for everyone else. And then everyone else just goes up and does the fight in one shot while they have a supply of cans. Yeah, so Ace Bat's just finished. Normally you have to do 2 kind of rounds of climbing up because you can't hold enough cans to kill this boss all in one go. But having the can feeder lets you get around that. So Ace Bats and Diller have both finished. 7th Ace has Goji at 1 hit. He uses climbing up to boost him down twice and then spray him down.
Yeah, and that pretty much concludes Jet Set Radio Future 100% no post-game 4-player co-op, which is a sentence I didn't think I would ever say, and I'm so glad I got to say it.
That's such a good sentence. Yeah, so Fuse is just about done there, and then the way this last bit of strategy works is that Ace fills the cans up to full, so that Fuse has enough to spray Goji down, and then as soon as Fuse hits a certain threshold in Akamu's health, in Goji's health, Ace abandons the ninjas to go up and do the last spray. Also, you can see 2 jazzes there at the top. Makes me happy. So that's it. All of the Gojis are dead.
GG.
We did it.
That's the run.
Final time, 141.50. It's a world record, technically.
There we go. World record live on stream. Huge.
Technical whir. 2 jazzes.
Best kind of world record.
Yeah, not a bad run.
Yeah, everything went smoothly. Nobody died. Unless you count Diller's Xbox crashing, but
It happens.
couldn't prepare for that.
In the practice game we did yesterday, 2 separate people died and game overed completely. So we were just hoping that didn't happen again.
Yeah, this
So,
was much smoother.
Yeah. Good work, everyone.
So hopefully we're going to get Ace and Fuse in specifically to talk about more of the tech side of this.
Because Ekla and I are bad at that.
Yeah, we don't understand. We just say what we see.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming to watch this run. We're really happy that we got to show it off. And
Yeah.
this is just the beginning. I'm sure that there's so much more for co-op to come. We're even considering co-op bingo. There's so much that can be done with not only this, but also just JSRF modding in general. So
Yeah.
you guys are interested, we've got plenty of content.
We're really excited about this mod, and we hope that some of you are as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Please. Greetings, Ace and Fuse. Good call.
Hey,
All right. Our runners are here if they would like to talk about the run, and or I know Ace and Fuse have tech stuff they wanted to talk about. Oh, we're doing a DLC fight. This is a fight that got patched out of the game, but the trigger is still active for it. It's just out of bounds. Due to some technical wizardry, Ace has just warped everyone into it.
yeah, I brought everybody that was still connected to the fight. I apparently just lived the fight with 0 HP, which is impressive. So
Yeah, I noticed that happening. It's really easy to take damage on the last, while the fade out is happening or something, and so you just get no HP. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But yeah, if you have any questions on how this works or whatever, we can do a quick talk about it since due to the little bit of setup and crash time. Thank you, JSRF, very kind. We've got only a couple minutes left, but if anybody has technical questions or whatever, we can go for those.
Ask our modders things. They're very smart.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to just give us a quick a quick and dirty rundown of exactly what you guys did to make this work, that would be great.
There is no quick. I don't think.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna load us into Doom Riders.
It's long and dirty. Like Doom Rider? What? Hello?
The Doom Riders race?
Yeah, so I'm in 5th place now. 6th place.
Oh my god.
Whoops.
Somebody go. Yeah, you can apparently mess around and get into like 6th place, which you're never intended to. So 5th or 6th has some glitched out text. So what's the short fuse? You basically use a debug connection from the EvoX dashboard
Yeah,
to send
one of
Xbox stuff over the internet.
third-party dashboards on for original Xbox has this debug mode for to assist in creating stuff for its trainer system. In which case, we can leverage that to read and write some memory. So we patch a whole pile of extra code in and basically make a whole message loop that we can use the debugging interface to read and write messages into.
Oh.
So then, we're spamming this interface way harder than it was probably ever expected to be used for anything, and it's held up pretty well. And
It's taken a couple performance patches to do. The original ones. I mean, this is like the 14th version we've tested of this. It's been in development for months now.
yeah, there was like a huge optimization problem just in regards to, like, I said we can hammer this thing and it holds up pretty well, but like we can only hammer it so much, and the actual bandwidth we can get between the Xbox and a computer is pretty poor. So there was definitely quite a bit of a task of just optimizing, trying to figure out how to make the best use of as much data as we could without breaking it.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned it in the commentary a bit earlier, but a lot of games from this era, and this console in particular, don't have nearly as much support in terms of modding as this game does, and it is really all thanks to you guys. This game would not be where it is now if it wasn't for our amazing modding team.
You timed that perfectly, Ace. It looks like a basketball jumped into it. Is this an IL?
Yeah, this is an IL. This is Kibo Dash.
I'm Jazz. I'm not prepared.
Oh no, we can't do it. The shame.
Let's find out. Can Jazz do it? No.
Yeah, so with this, you can hilariously run ILs against each other. It's kind of fun just to be able to goof around with it. But we have more plans for it in the future, things like health sync and whatnot. So it's been
Getting the movement a little smoother.
Yeah.
With another one. Like we're sending movement updates every so many frames, and on the computer side, it's pruning down old data and stuff to actually get it within the amount that can actually be sent, and sometimes combining messages for stuff like hands and stuff to reduce the amount that way as well. But we could certainly, in the patching of the game itself, we could like actually smooth the movement more instead of just proceed to warp between checkpoints, which is kind of what it's doing right now.
So I'm going to try and get to lower Kibo.
oh yeah.
Fuck. I can't
Yeah,
remember
so we
exactly
have-
where to go.
We have a whole bunch, and I mean a whole bunch of just weird things from this game that we know about and could do for a while, but we're obviously, if you're interested, we can show them off at some other time. A lot of us stream this, especially on Sundays at this kind of time slot. So always fun. And yeah, thanks to the SEGALYMPICS for having us. Shoutouts to Bacon Omelet especially for letting us know about it.
Yeah.
Your IL just finished out of curiosity?
No, my IL's still going.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that was a very exciting run. I am so glad we got to show off the co-op mod.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
Well, excellent.
alrighty.
Thanks,
And we
thanks
got
so
one
much,
more.
everybody. Really appreciate everybody's participation. You really showed us something that was my mind was blown. I was trying to follow along as we were going. This is fantastic stuff. So that being said, again, really appreciate you participating, and it was great stuff. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna send this over to Booster Shane and Shanna. We're going to go to the BRB screen here really quick, just give them a chance to get prepped up and ready to go, and then we will be taking on to them. So let's go ahead and do that, and stick around. We do have a lot more great Sega action going on tonight to wrap up the remainder for the SEGALYMPICS, and we'll catch you real soon. So stick around. Be right back.
Thanks for having us.
Ah.